confidence after that win. And I mean, I know I didn't talk about it a lot, but I did say he had those 2 factories up. A couple of vultures from those 2 factories was all he needed, and I think it was just silly of C to throw that game away. I don't know what he was doing, what he was thinking, why he did that. I'm sure obviously Jaedong would have continued to pump reinforcements from his main, but C could have easily set up a block to protect his main, and I think he would have been okay. Anyway, starting up on Python, and okay, I'm just looking at C again for anyone who hasn't synced in. I'm just looking at kind of a transparent overlay of C over his base, and what is he going to be thinking? C doesn't seem to be full of confidence to me. He did try to go for that very risky strategy in that first game. I mean, you know, a strategy like that can be a sign of confidence, and at the same time it can be a sign of someone being a little bit scared and not having the confidence to think they can win in a straight up game, and therefore going for a strategy like that. So I don't know what it was in the case for C. I think the thing with Hitchhiker is that C probably realized that Jaedong would have to go for a high economy game to try and get an advantage because of the nature of Hitchhiker, because you need to get those kind of defilers up really before those Terran tanks come barreling down your throat. He decided to go for that strategy that he did go for in terms of executing that rush, and he did a great job of keeping Jaedong from scouting his strategy, so that was well played by C. Anyway, we're on Python now, and Jaedong is going for some sort of a rush here, and this is going to favor him. He's putting up that spawning pool, and he's using the extractor trick to get more Zerglings. C, however, has not expanded yet. C has gone for the 1 barracks build, and he hasn't put up a refinery, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not C puts up that refinery. If C does go for that refinery, that'll give Jaedong more of a chance of this rush being successful, but this is silly by Jaedong. There's no need for him to do this. The bases are right next to each other, so that does reduce, obviously, the travel time of the Zerglings, and does give him a little bit of a chance in this game. The fact that C hasn't scouted yet, and if C is now sending his SCV out to scout, it just depends on what direction C is going to scout it, and C is going to scout this. C is sending 2 SCVs out, 1 in each direction, so C knows the value of scouting information on this map, and he's going to scout this from Jaedong. He's going to be prepared, and Jaedong is going to put himself at a huge disadvantage here by going for those Zerglings. I guess it might not necessarily mean the end of the game. We have seen it before where a Zerg player has gone for that spawning pool first, and Jaedong now putting up that hatchery, and I think the purpose of that is more to, not necessarily to rush. Sorry, I called it wrong there, and my stream again buffering, sorry guys. And I think the purpose of that, okay, it's back now, and that SCV is just getting up that ramp, and Jaedong manages to block the SCV from getting up the ramp. He's got those Zerglings out, and I think for C it's enough to see those Zerglings, but Jaedong has put up that hatchery now, and I think the purpose of getting that spawning pool up is more to guard against an early rush by Terran, or an early kind of cheese build, and Jaedong has seen C likely to do something like that, likely to go for these kind of cheese builds in this game, in this matchup already, and that's probably why he's... C obviously has got that ramp blocked off comfortably behind those 2 SCVs. I've yet to see if C has started up a refinery or not, but Jaedong doing a good job of keeping C pinned back in his base with those group of Zerglings, and that's going to allow him to invest a little bit in terms of tech. But C has managed to sneak that SCV around, that second SCV that was scouting. C managed to sneak it around, and just for reference, Jaedong is at the 8 o'clock position and C at 6 o'clock, and C has managed to get that SCV in Jaedong's base, so he knows that Jaedong is going for a 2 hatchery build at this point in time, and Jaedong continuing to pump Zerglings from his main, and I'm not sure why he's doing that. He's continuing to pump Zerglings, maybe he's hoping to catch C at a flank or something. C now pushing out with those Marines a little bit, just clearing that choke of his outside his natural expo, and Jaedong, again, his link control letting him down. He's lost a couple of Zerglings carelessly there was no need for that, and his micro just doesn't seem to be at that level that you would expect of a player to be wanting to get into the Star Leagues, but C again has managed to sneak another SCV out past that contain that Jaedong has set up outside his choke, and C has lifted that barracks up and floating it inside his main, so this is definitely going to give Jaedong a little bit of an advantage in terms of an economy advantage, and Jaedong is now teching to lair, so Jaedong has started his tech to lair quite fast, and C once again getting that SCV out, and Jaedong forced to pull his Zerglings back to try and stop that SCV from getting inside his main. C building a second barracks, so it looks like C is going to go for a kind of a similar strategy to what we saw on Hitchhiker. On Hitchhiker though, he did have 3 barracks up, and on this occasion he's not going to have that. Jaedong going for lair, he does have the 2 hatchery build, so he's not going to have the economic advantage should C's early push, mid-game push fail, but we've seen Jaedong fall once to that already on Hitchhiker, and if he falls to it again, he's going to be in trouble. He does have that 1 Zergling out, so that's going to give him a little bit of time in terms of scouting, but he hasn't set up a single sunken again here. Jaedong cheaping out on the sunken. C's already got that medic out, so C's going to be ready to go out any second now, and Jaedong finally putting that first creep colony up, and again, if C comes with SCVs, Jaedong might find himself in a little bit of trouble here. Jaedong might be a little bit overconfident in his ability to defend this. He doesn't even have a lot of Zerglings. He's got a handful of Zerglings there, and that's not going to be enough to defend. His Spire is not going to be up in time. C looks like he's pushing out. C is pushing out. He's coming forward with a group of Medic and Marines, and he's got a Firebat as well. He is not bringing SCVs with him on this occasion, and maybe that will be the saving grace for Jaedong. But last time C didn't have any Firebats. This time he does, and Jaedong has seen that push coming, and Jaedong is probably starting up a second Sunken, I would say. He is starting up a second creep colony. That first Sunken should be just about complete. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to hold. C doesn't have a large force coming in though. C started up that second and third barracks quite late, so C doesn't have as large a force as he would have, and that second Sunken looks like it's going to be complete. So C just successfully pressuring Jaedong a little bit, and Jaedong and C pulling back. So C not going for it this time. Jaedong getting enough defenses in place, and I think the mistake for Jaedong though is he's still on a 2-hatchery build. If I'm correct, he still hasn't put up that 3rd hatchery, so that's going to be critical here. C, however, doesn't look to me like he's got an engineering base, so Jaedong, even with the 2-hatchery build, might be able to do some damage to his economy. C has gone for that command center, and I don't think he's put up an engineering bay yet. So Jaedong, and he's only now starting up that engineering bay, but I think Jaedong's Spire is almost complete. Jaedong's Spire is almost complete, so Jaedong might be able to get a few Mutalisks in there before C can have that engineering bay, and if Jaedong can do some damage to C's economy, that's going to give him a great chance in this game. However, Jaedong still with the 2 hatcheries, C now setting up that expansion, equalizing the economic advantage. Excuse me. And C setting up another barracks here. So it'll be interesting to see how this game pans out. A slightly unorthodox play by both players. Jaedong with a 2-hatchery build. C's got his group of Medic and Marines there just pressuring Jaedong. He's forced to leave a group in his main because he doesn't know Jaedong's tech status. He did see Jaedong with that early extractor, so he doesn't know when those Mutalisks are going to be popping out for Jaedong. And Jaedong's Spire is complete. His Mutalisks are going to pop out, and those Mutalisks are definitely going to pop out before C can get those okay, actually they might not. I might have mistimed that because those turrets are now going up. That engineering base is complete. Finished faster than I thought, and it does look like Jaedong's got his Mutalisk up in the air now, and we did see very effectively July Zerg actually going for Zergling Mutalisk and actually winning this game, and those 2 Firebats are going to get caught off guard, and they're going to get taken out, so that's unfortunate for C. He loses those 2 Firebats. That was poor by C, and C now with a small group only of Medic and Marines, and Jaedong needs to ride, and unfortunately for Jaedong, C managed to get that turret up on that hill, and that turret is in critical position because we've seen July Zerg with amazing micro in the previous, I believe it was the Star Challenge for the next season that we saw him play in, and or was it the qualifiers for the MSL? I'm not sure. Jaedong now coming in with the Zerglings and the Mutalisks, and Jaedong taking a big risk here. I'm not sure if this is going to be successful. He's lost a lot of Mutalisks, and he's lost all of his Zerglings. Sees the defense successfully. That was quite a pathetic attack. Poor show, flop show, unfortunately. Flop show by Jaedong. That was a pathetic attack, and now he's going to find himself in huge trouble here because C has got two command centers to Jaedong's 2 hatcheries, and C taking a decisive advantage in this game by successfully defending that attack. Jaedong is going to be in huge trouble here now because C is going to be able to tech up. C getting all those turrets up in critical positions, and Jaedong overcommitting himself with that attack. He should have tried to do more of a harassment and keep C pinned back in his base while he expanded. He chose instead to go for the more gung-ho approach, and he will pay the price for it. And Jaedong's decision making remaining suspect as far as I'm concerned. That turret, as I was remarking, just up on that hill above the natural expansion is critical. Is an absolutely vital placement of that turret, because a good Zerg player in Mutalisk Micro can ride that kind of hill between the natural and the expo and do a lot of damage to the Terran economy. And Jaedong really is going to have to do some significant damage to C here with those Mutalisks, because he's going to just find himself behind the Terran player in terms of economy, and that's unheard of a Zerg player. And C pushing out with those Medic and Marines, and that's going to give Jaedong a little bit of chance to do some damage here. C only has a few Marines there. He's got no medics there, and that's going to give Jaedong a chance to do some good micro here. And he's already lost one of the Mutalisks, but he's taking off most of the Marines there. He's managed to pick off most of the Marines, and Jaedong is, that's going to force C back, but C's force is out at C. C's force in the middle of Python, and Jaedong now should be able to do some damage. Jaedong's killed a large group of Marines here, but he still hasn't killed any SCVs. C forced to retreat. C manages to get back in time, but Jaedong critically has not killed any SCVs in that harass, and that's poor by Jaedong. He should have really microed some SCVs down. I know he was focusing on the Marines, but he should have killed a few more SCVs, hurt C's economy a little bit. That's what he needs to do. He needs to hurt that economy, but at the very least he's taken almost a full control group of Marines out, and that's going to slow C down a little bit in terms of his push. And Jaedong continued to pick off Marines, so good harass, effective harass here, but nevertheless he needs to hurt that economy. The Marines I don't think will bother C too much, and Jaedong once again taking out more Marines. He's got more Mutalisks pouring through, and C in a little bit of trouble here. C a little bit complacent, counting too much on those turrets to defend him, and C's lost all of his Marines. C didn't have any medics defending those Marines, and that's why he's lost those Marines so comfortably. And Jaedong now, again, I don't feel his Mutalisk harass skills are that effective. It's more that C didn't defend, that C's defense was a little bit poor, that I feel allowed Jaedong to get in there and do that damage and take out those Marines. Again, you see poor micro there, that Mutalisk dying unnecessarily, rallied into the middle of C's base, and that Mutalisk just floated over and died without doing anything. And Jaedong now trying to go again for that Natural Expo, but C had a bunker there, so good defense by C. C anticipating that, having that bunker there in defense, and C scouting out with that SCV, trying to find where Jaedong has set up a third expansion, because, you know, by all rights he should have, and Jaedong relying very heavily on Mutalisk and Zerglings, persisting with that strategy, and perhaps it's too late for him to do anything else now. Perhaps it's too late for him to put up that third hatchery. He's putting up a Hydralisk Den now, relying on a lair game. He cancelled the Hydralisk Den, so that's interesting. So Jaedong, it just shows how he is in so many 2 or 3 different minds, and he's just unsure of himself. He has managed to build up a substantial Mutalisk force. He hasn't lost a lot of Mutalisks in terms of his dressing. He's finally now sending that drone out. See now